With Metal Gear Solid 4, Resistance 2, and Little Big Planet, is this the year of the PS3's comeback? This time in the bonus round, we preview Sony at E3 2008. Does the PS3 still have a shot at winning the console war?
They're really starting to step outside the box and come up with these games that are just so different.
And is Home finally going to ship this year, and will it deliver?
If they get the 3D right and get the 2D wrong, that's going to be a problem for them.
Those answers and more right now in the bonus round E3 preview. Hey, welcome back to the bonus round and our special E3 preview. This time we're turning to Sony and the PlayStation 3. What can we expect? Well, joining me to discuss their E3 strategy is Stephen Totilo from MTV's Multiplayer and MTV News, and Guy Kroll from Level Up at Newsweek, and finally from Kotaku, Brian Crescenti. All right, guys, so Sony, let's start with you, and Guy, the resident PlayStation fanboy, as they call you on the boards. What can we expect from Sony here at E3? What do they need to be doing?
Well, I think they should cut the price. I mean, look, they've been consistently in the 150, 200,000 units range on a monthly basis, and that's a good place to be.
And they pulled ahead of Xbox in the main numbers slightly? Yeah.
They did, but that's pretty meaningless. I mean, I think at this point, you have to still look at them as don't even worry about them competing with Microsoft, just getting their own business healthy, right? And I think the prices of the PS3 and the 360 are still too high, but PS3 is more expensive. So I think they do need to do that, but they've sort of said, I mean, their financial predictions show that they're not planning to cut price. Yeah. So apart from that, they've just got to show some really good games. I mean, Game Informer just showed Infamous. They just on their cover. That sounds like it could be really good game. I know when Steven was interning for me at Newsweek, he was a big fan of Sucker Punch.
That was a different department.
That was a different department?
When he was
that was 1999, the year you started playing games.
Ouch, the knives are coming out.
It was 1999, absolutely.
So Infamous could be big. Obviously, Killzone 2, we're going to have to see what we got on that. Resistance 2. One game I'm really excited about, Brian, is Little Big Planet, which I think could be, we've had a chance to play. I think everyone here sort of unanimously agrees that's going to be something pretty special.
Yeah, no, I think Little Big Planet is going to be amazing, but I also think that it's sort of a sign of where, in some sense, where Sony's headed with some of their games. They're really starting to step outside the box and come up with these games that are just so different, like from that game company and some of the other...
Flower, which we'll see.
Which is amazing. And it's neat to see that they have decided that they want to not only come out with AAA titles like Metal Gear Solid 4 or support them, but also come up with these new experiences that are completely untested. And I think that it's going to really serve them well in the coming year.
So, Stephen, do you think Sony, do they have a shot to really win this console war now? I mean, Nintendo is, outselling them, 4 to 5 times a month. They still haven't even made up a lot of ground on Xbox 360, which had a year head start. What do you think Sony's end game is here?
Can they win? No. The Wii is a pop culture phenomenon. But what I think that they have the ability to do that I don't think Microsoft has as much the ability to do is to tap into some of that mainstream or casual crossover audience. And one of the games that really stood out to me at a Sony event that I think we were all at pretty recently was Buzz for PS3. And Buzz is one of those things where, sometimes at an E3 or something, like you pay attention to State of Emergency instead of paying attention to Grand Theft Auto 3, and you kind of miss what's going to be big. And there's just something about Buzz PS3 and the idea that, yes, we know what it is already. It's a game show, video game. It comes with wireless buzzers instead of wired buzzers, but this has been around a bit before. But there's something about the fact that now people can create their own quizzes for the game, and the fact that it's going to be this community of people all creating game shows for each other. And I see a universal appeal to that I wonder if that's going to be one of the surprise crossover hits in America.
Right,
yeah, and that's going to pave a path for Sony to reach out, I think, beyond the hardcore and touch a lot of people who are interested in some of the casual mainstream experiences that Rock Band, Guitar Hero, and the Wii in general have been, successful at reaching so far.
And Guy, out of that whole lineup of games that we're going to see for PlayStation 3 at E3, you mentioned Infamous, you mentioned Resistance. Are there other games that you really think are going to stand out at E3 for them?
Well, I'm curious to see what the reaction is going to be to Pixel Junk Eden, which is another, it's from Q Games in Japan, 2D. It's basically 2D Spider-Man if Spider-Man were trying to create plants in his plant garden. I mean, I'm going to do a terrible job explaining it here, but the game just feels so good. And what's interesting was I was at a Capcom event the other day where I saw Bionic Commando, which also has a swing mechanic and it's 3D, and they've done a really good job with it. But I couldn't help in the back of my mind that Pixel Junk Eden felt a lot better. Right. And, you know, I was exchanging some, you know, Facebook messages with Dylan Cuthbert, the head of the studio, and he said that, I mean, it's been revealed, they're going to have a demo for these games. And he actually talked about GDC, about why he doesn't do demos for his games before they ship, because he feels it actually hurts sales. He's so confident this is the best Pixel Junk game they've made yet that he's doing a pre-release demo.
Wow.
What was
Pixel Junk for Best of Show right here?
Well, you know, I'm a fan of the alternative games, man. I mean, like, what was it, Desktop Tower Defense?
Desktop Tower Defense. He hooked Michael Pachter on that, and many fans of the show probably. Now, Brian, let's talk about the elephant in the room, which is home. Something that Sony unveiled back at GDC of 2007. It's been in beta for a while. There's been talk about it. Is this thing really coming this year? Is it going to be a revolution?
You know, it's funny because an indicator for me is the fact that they still haven't allowed media to really check it out. Right. I mean, they have this beta that keeps getting pushed back and back. You know, I could see them dating it at E3. I don't think it's going to be coming, I don't know, maybe it could come for this holiday, but I think it's going to be a hard push.
It feels like it's kind of lost a little steam. Like everyone was really excited about when they first talked about it, but since then, there hasn't been a lot of buzz about it.
I think that part of that is on purpose. I think they're letting the buzz die down because it was such a big announcement. Right. But I think what's more interesting about Home, at least from what we've heard, some of the rumors we've written about, are some of the elements that you can use to interact with games. Like, I think it was Resistance 2, or maybe it was Warhawk, we had heard that the game, there'd be a room inside Home where you could go in and have a literal sandbox where you could, you know, put down little figures and create. I mean, that kind of thing is amazing. Right. Whether or not I'd want to play Second Life on the PS3, I'm not so sure. But if I can go into a room and sort of pre-plan a massive sort of tournament for a first-person shooter, I think that'd be fantastic.
One thing to think about with Home, though, is that it's a bit of there may be a bit of a head feint. So I think visually, 3D Home is important to Sony's ambitions because it most shows some differentiation even between the Mii's and whatever Microsoft is doing.
Brings you to the cyber world?
It brings us into the cyber world, absolutely. It's like jacking into the Matrix. But from what I've heard from people close to Sony's online initiatives, 2D Home, which is actually what I've been more interested in, because I feel like that's more essential and will affect more people. They claim, and they're biased obviously, they claim it's extremely compelling and really well done. And to me, if they nail that and don't quite get the 3D stuff right away, that'll be a black eye, but gamers, core gamers, will focus a lot more on 2D Home.
What do you mean by 2D Homes? I don't know if people
I mean like a flat interface, because the complaints have been lodged
shown yet,
exactly. The complaints which have been lodged against Home and are understandable are like, do I really want to navigate a 3D space to do relatively simple things, to meet up with friends, go into games, come out, look at trophies and whatever? And again, from what I'm being told,
there's a
the
second
bulk
layer
of the stuff you'll be able to do in 3D, you'll be able to do in 2D for quicker navigation. Right. And if they nail that, and they have to nail that, if they get the 3D right and get the 2D wrong, that's going to be a problem for them.
Okay. Interesting. Now, speaking of online, Stephen, when the PS3 came out, you know, a lot of complaints about the lack of online features. Now there are rumors, obviously, we're going to see, you know, in-game cross-media bar and trophies and all these things that people have been asking for a couple of years. Do you think, has Sony picked up enough ground in the online space to now say that they're really competitive with Xbox 360?
I don't think it's yet ready to be a selling point for the console. So I think if, you know, online, I think, is about wanting to go where your friends are so that you can be connected to your friends. And until they have a fully universal system, the way that Xbox 360 has, you know, you're still going to go to the 360 first. You get Grand Theft Auto or Burnout or whatever. It's like, where are my friends? They're on my buddy list on the 360. I'm still going there. But, you know, even back in the days of the PS2, I mean, people were playing SOCOM a lot online. It's just like it just didn't have, you know, the sex appeal of Xbox Live on the Xbox. It didn't have a brand around it. But I think people who are interested in online are going to be increasingly satisfied with the PS3. They're just going to have a harder time getting all their friends together with them. It's still the challenge.
And what about handheld? PSP, you know, we hear, you know, despite, you know, you